All right, so we've got the sun, we've got the earth, and this is us in Virginia. And give me a second, I'm gonna turn my light off so you can see this better. All right. I have a flashlight, and this is going to be our sun. Okay, so I've got my sun here. And if you can see this? I know it's not super dark. You see how when we are facing the sun, we have daylight. And the back of the earth has no sun, so they're at nighttime. And we rotate all day. And so now the sun is setting, and now it's dark, so it's nighttime. It's going to keep on rotating, and the sun's rising, and we have daytime again. So this happens every 24 hours. We go around on our axis, and we have day and night. But while that's happening, we're also going around the sun, and we revolve all the way around the sun. And this takes a year to happen. And when we are tilted, the earth has a tilt. So when we're tilted towards the sun, it's going to be hotter and we're going to have more sunlight. So it's going to be summer. And when we're tilted away, we still see the sun, but it's further away and it's not as direct. So we have winter. Okay. So going around the sun is going to cause our seasons. Now, today we're going to be talking about something that goes around the earth. Do you know what revolves around the earth? We can see it at nighttime. It's our moon. So we're going to be talking about the moon today, okay? So first of all, and you may even be able to see it right now. I could see it a little earlier this morning. We're going to start by reading a book called So That's How the Moon Changes Shape. Let me turn the light on again so that you can see it a little better. All right. Do you ever wonder, or do you ever look up at the moon and wonder, why can't the moon make up its mind what shape to be in? Sometimes the moon's a bright circle and we call it a full moon. But some nights the moon looks more like this. You see how it's disappearing? You can't see it all. Or like this half moon. Or like this crescent. On some nights, you can't see it at all. How does the moon change its shape? It doesn't. It's always a big ball. A ball of rock with neither air nor water. So people and animals and plants can't live there. But you see only part of the moon that's lit. The rest is too dark to see, yet it's there. So even though you can only see a tiny sliver, the whole thing is still there. Why doesn't the whole moon shine every night? Because the moon doesn't really shine at all. It's the sun that shines on the moon and lights it up. We say that the moon reflects the sunlight. Even though the sun is on the other side of the earth at night where you can't see it, the sun's rays may still reach the moon and make it glow. The moon is always traveling in a big circle around the earth. Depending on where the sun and moon are in the sky, we may see some of the moon, all of the moon, or none of the moon lit up by the sun. All right, so the moon is just a big rock in the sky. There is no light to it at all. I'm going to turn my light off one more time. And I'm going to show you how we can see the moon in the sky, even though it doesn't have its own light. So here we are on Earth. And when the moon is between the sun and the earth, look what happens. The sun is shining, and this side of the moon is completely lit. I'm going to turn it around so you guys can see it. See how it's completely lit? But on the back where we are, on the back of the moon here, there is no light at all. So from Earth, we see nothing. It's called a new moon and it's completely dark in the sky. But as the moon starts to go around, watch what happens to the light. You see how there's just a little bit that we could see? And then half of the moon is lit. For my shirt, it's darker. And then more and more and more until we can see the entire thing. So from Earth, the entire side of the moon is going to be lit. And then it's going to start disappearing again until we're back to a new moon. So depending on where it is in the sky is how much we can see it. All right, I'm going to share my screen with you real quick, and I'm going to show you a video that you can see it a little better than I could because it can't get real dark in here. And then I'll be right back, and we're going to do our own, we're going to create our own moons, okay? So give me a second. Can you guys see this? Yeah. Okay, here we go.
If you ever look up at the moon in the night sky, say before you go to bed, you've probably noticed that as the days and weeks go by, the moon looks like it's changing shape. Some nights, it's a little sliver, and some nights, a few weeks later, it's a big bright circle. Well, the moon doesn't actually change shape, but our view of it does. Why? Well, the moon, just like the Earth, has a day side and a night side, a part that's facing the sun and a part that's not. So when we see a little sliver of bright moon, we're seeing a little part of the moon that's facing the sun, while the rest of the side that's facing us is dark. And the size and the shape of that sliver of lit up moon changes because the moon orbits or moves around Earth. It takes the moon about 1 month to make one full orbit around the Earth. And as it moves around our planet, the daytime side of the moon, the side that's lit up from the sun, is facing in different directions as we see it from Earth. This means that every night we get a slightly different view of the moon. And during its month-long trip in orbit around the Earth, the bright part of the moon appears to grow and then shrink from right to left. The different shapes that we see of the lit up part of the moon are called phases. There are 8 phases of the moon. The first phase is the new moon. This is when the nighttime side of the moon, the side that's facing away from the sun, is what we can see from Earth. The moon is still up there, but because it's the dark side that's facing us, we can't see it during the new moon phase. The next phase is called the crescent phase. This is when the moon looks like a little sliver, kind of like the tip of your fingernail. After the crescent comes the quarter moon. This is when the moon looks like a half circle. And the next phase is called gibbous. A gibbous moon is when it's missing just a little sliver of light and it's almost full. And that's what's next. The moon is at its brightest at the full moon. That's when the fully lit up side of the moon is facing us, so we see a big bright circle. But we're only halfway through our phases. After the full moon, the lit up part of the moon appears to shrink. And just like how it grew from right to left, the sunny side of the moon will shrink from right to left too. So after the moon is full, it starts to shrink back down to a gibbous moon. But this time, you'll notice that the left side is shining bright instead of the right. After the gibbous phase, the moon will look like half a circle when it reaches the quarter moon phase again. And then after a few days, it shrinks down to a little sliver again, the second crescent moon. After that, the tiny sliver shrinks all the way down until the lit up side of the moon can't be seen at all. Now the moon is a new moon again. It's the same old moon, but it's gone through a month-long cycle of phases, and it's ready to start all over. Like I said, it takes a month for the moon to go through all 8 phases. In fact, our word month comes from the word moon because it takes a month for the moon to go from new moon through all of its phases and back to the new moon again. So tonight, before you go to bed, take a look out the window. If the sky is clear, can you see the moon? If you can't, what phase is it in? Is it the bright part of the right side or the left side? As the days go by, keep an eye on it and watch how the moon looks like it's changing shape. You can even make drawings to keep track of how it changes from day to day. Now you know that the moon doesn't really change shape. We just see different amounts of the sunny side of the moon as it makes its monthly trip around the Earth. Thanks for joining us today. We love getting questions here.
Okay, so that had a little bit better pictures that you could see than what I could show you from my little model. Okay, we are going to be creating our own moon cycle. So I'm gonna have you get a couple materials if you can. You're gonna need a piece of paper, a pencil, and some crayons. Okay, so take a second and go grab that stuff if you need to go get it, and then we will get started.
Is that your little when you start calculating it? When you calculate it, I think I'm happy. I made it while we were.
Thank you for completing your test.
Take these. Yeah.
Are we about ready? Okay. What I want you to do is take your paper and turn it so it's long ways across, a little bit more room. And I'm going to use a black marker for my pencil so it'll show up better so you can see it. What we're going to do first is we're going to draw a part of the sun. So over here on my right-hand side, I'm just going to draw part of a circle on the edge of my paper. I can draw some little sun rays. And we'll color this in just a minute. So just draw a sun. And in the middle, we're going to draw a circle, not too big because we're going to be drawing around it. And this is going to be our Earth. Now we know that the Earth is made up of land and water. So I'm going to draw some little continents on here.
Same as that.
And if you are a hybrid student and we're in class, we did an experiment a few weeks ago where we determined if there was more water or land on Earth. And we found out that there was a whole lot more water than land. So I'm going to give you a minute. You can color your water blue, your land green, and your sun yellow. And then we're going to talk about the moon. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be making 4 circles. So watch where I put these circles. We're going to put one circle above the Earth, one circle below the Earth, one circle to the right between the Earth and the sun, and one circle to the left of the Earth. Top, the bottom, and the side. All right. Remember with the model I showed you, when the sun is shining, Earth and the sun, the side that's facing the sun is going to be completely lit up, but from Earth, we're not going to see anything but darkness. So this is called a new moon, and we can't see it. The sky is completely black at night. So for the moon between the Earth and the sun, let's color that completely black because we can't see it. And if you don't have a black, you can use a gray or a brown or something dark. But we can't see it in the sky. And this is called a new moon. N-E-W. It's a new moon. It starts the cycle. All right, so if I go back to my sun, and if I'm shining it from Earth, if the moon is on the other side, I'm gonna see the whole thing. It's all going to be bright. So I'm gonna color this moon yellow. And we know that the moon really, if we look in the sky, it's kind of a white, grayish color, but we're gonna color it yellow just so we can see it better on our paper. All right, so a new moon is when we can't see anything at all, and a full moon is when we can see the entire thing. So this is a full moon, F-U-L-L, the full moon. All right, the next one we're gonna look at is the one on top. So for this one, when the sun is shining on the side of the earth, we're going to be able to see part of the sunlight. We're going to be able to see half of a moon. So for this one, let's draw a line down the middle. And the part that is facing the sun, we're going to color yellow because we can see half of it. And the part that is not facing the sun, we can't see. So we're going to color that part black. And this moon is called a first quarter moon. So we can write a 1 with an ST for first. And you can just write a Q if you want for quarter, or you can write the whole word. Q, U, A, R, T, R. That's our first quarter moon. So it started with a new moon, and then we get half of it, we get all of it, and then it starts disappearing again. So we're again gonna see half of it, but we're gonna see the other half. So for the one on the bottom, let's draw a line down the middle again, but we're gonna do the opposite. So on the side, on the right side, we did yellow before. So now we're going to color the right side black. And on the left side, now we'll color it yellow. And we know that when we're talking about money, we have 4 quarters and $1. When we have our report cards, we have 4 quarters in the school year. We get a report card every quarter. When we have a clock, there are quarter hours. So for our moon phases, we have quarters too. This is the first quarter. This would be the second. This is our third quarter. So we can make a 3 RD for third, and then you can make just a Q for quarter, or you can spell it out again. Q, A, R, T, D, R. And this moon is also called the last quarter. It's called the third quarter or the last quarter. All right, so we started with nothing. We have half of a moon. The full moon goes back to the other half and then disappears. These are our 4 basic moon phases, but there's 4 other ones that are pretty important too. So we're going to draw 4 more circles. We're going to draw a circle between the new moon and the first quarter, between the first quarter and the full, between the full and the third quarter, and between the third quarter and the new. And if you don't have a whole lot of space, you can just make a small circle in between them. Okay. Four more circles. All right, we're going to start with the new moon. And before we can get to the first quarter and have half of it colored in, it's going to be just a teeny tiny bit. It's called a crescent moon. So for this one, I want you to go kind of the top middle, and we're going to draw a backwards C. Just a teeny tiny bit. That little sliver is going to be colored yellow because that's the only thing you can see. The other day called it a banana moon. It does kind of look like a banana. And it also reminds me of the intro for the DreamWorks movies with the little boy fishing on the moon. We went from nothing to a teeny tiny bit to half of it. And now it has to grow even more before it gets to a full moon. So for this one, we are going to start at the middle and draw a regular C. So it's just the opposite. The big part is going to be colored yellow because our moon is growing. And the tiny part is going to be black because we're not seeing just a little sliver. And that's called a gibbous moon. So we started with nothing. We have a tiny little sliver that's a crescent. The first quarter where we see half of it, where we see almost all of it in a gibbous moon. And now we see a full moon. So that's half of the cycle, but now it needs to start disappearing again. So for our next moon, we're going to do the opposite again. And this time we're going to do a backwards C. But the big part will be yellow, because we still see almost all of it. And the little part will be black. Now it's starting to disappear, and then it disappears a little bit more. So this is again a gibbous moon. And then we go back to half of it, and now we're only going to see a teeny tiny sliver. So we're going to make a regular C and color in just the tiny amount. And I'm sorry, I'm so shaky. I'm trying to hold my computer with one arm in color. And the big part's going to be black. And this will again be a crescent moon. Started with a new moon, it grows to a crescent. The first quarter, a gibbous, it's almost there, and it's a full moon. And then it starts disappearing to a gibbous, the third or last quarter, and finally the crescent, and it goes back to a new moon again. So these are the cycles of the moon. And if you look at it, if the light is on the right side, so if you go outside tonight and you see the moon, and the light is on the right side, you know that it's growing and you're going to see a full moon soon. But if the light is on the left side, it's shrinking and soon it's going to disappear and start all over again. So you can make predictions as to what's going to happen next based on this cycle.
Sound it out. Sound it out.
All right. Can you guys hold up your moon phases so I can see them if you were able to do it?
The first 3 letters.
Nice.
Go back.
Oh, these look great.
Yeah, sound it again.
Very cool.
Sound it in.
Job.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, so you guys can take this outside or look out your window when you see the moon and
Not trying.
you can figure out what phase it is. Another fun activity, does anybody like Oreos? I do. You know how Oreos are, they have the black and then the white frosting inside? If you have Oreos ever, you can take them apart and you can kind of scrape that white frosting to make the different phases of the moon. Yummy way to do it. Next time you come, if you guys come back next week, we are going to continue learning about the moon, but we're going to talk about some astronauts, some scientists that have learned things about the moon, and maybe even some animals. So we will work on that next time. Before I let you go, was anybody able to see the Christmas star, the Jupiter and Saturn? Were you? Athena, you could see it? Where did you see it? Did you see it on that Monday? Or no, was it a different day?
Different.
Different. It was so foggy, wasn't it?
You got to see it on a telescope.
Did you? Oh my goodness, I'm so jealous. We drove around for hours trying to find it, and there was no
We
clear.
had to go to Winter Castle though.
Did you? Oh, that's a perfect spot for it. Very cool. Did anybody else get to see it?
No.
No. I guess we'll all have to wait another 800 years. I did find some pictures that other people took, so I'm going to share a couple of those with you real quick. So hold on. Okay, so if you can see up here, real tiny in the sky above this tree, there is Jupiter and Saturn. And what it was just they were really close together, the closest that they've been in 800 years. Here's another picture. And they're not quite on top of each other, but they're close. Here's another one. Those look pretty close. And this one is taken from a telescope, which is cool because you can see Jupiter here and you can see all the moons around it. And then Saturn, you can see those rings so clearly. So pretty cool. So I was happy to at least see pictures, but it would have been better to see the whole thing.
Oh, I thought
The
The
moons and
thing-
rings.
oh.
We were gonna show you our picture, but yours is a lot better. Ours is just Jupiter and Saturn in the sky. It was several months ago, but yours is much better.
Okay, very cool. Nice. All right, guys. Well, I am so glad you came today. If you want to stick around, if you have a question or anything, you can do that. Otherwise, I hope you come back next week and we can learn about some exploration on the moon and some cool things that they have found out. Okay.
Mhm.
Have a wonderful rest of the day. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you next week.
I tell you what I got for Christmas.
Sure.
I got a 4-wheeler